Hey everybody, KC here. So if you're a morning newsbeat reader, you know that I look for business lessons everywhere. I just can't help myself. And along those lines, I've been thinking a lot over the past, week and a half or so about the Biden-Trump debate. Clearly, it is something that has dominated the headlines for the last week and a half. Everybody's talking about it from a variety of points of view. And it just seems to me that I ought to be able to distill some sort of business lesson from all the coverage and the debate itself, which I watched every moment of it. Now, I want to do it without being too political, because this is not the place for it. But I will say this about the debate. Objectively speaking, I think it kind of reminded me of one of those family dinners where at one end of the table, you've got sort of the crazy uncle. And at the other end of the table, you have a parent who you're trying to figure out how to take the car keys away from them. We've all been at those dinners. And now I really, it's hard for me to believe that the country is actually having one of those dinners. It is a little insane. But anyway, business lesson. I actually found it in reading a piece in the New York Times by Dr. Adam Grant, who's an author and an organizational psychologist at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. And what he talked about, and he's specifically referring to Biden here, is that he has fallen into a trap, right? And the trap he describes this way: it's escalation of commitment to a losing course of action. In the face of impending failure, he writes, extensive evidence shows that instead of rethinking our plans, we often double down on our decisions. It feels better to be a fighter than a quitter. Now, I will tell you, I am totally guilty of this. Although, oddly enough, I think you may disagree with me on this. I'm more guilty of it in my personal life than my professional life. I think professionally, I've sort of crafted Morning Newsbeat as a place where there can be nuanced and civilized discourse. And because of that, it sort of forces me to listen and to learn and to evolve and to change my mind sometimes. Personally, I think I probably have evolved less than I should have. I'm still trying to work on that. Anyway, he writes, one of the tragedies of the human condition is that we use our big brains not to make rational decisions, but rather to rationalize the decisions that we've already made. We stick around too long in dead-end jobs. We stay in unhappy marriages even after friends have counseled us to leave. We stand by candidates even after they violate our principles. Some of the worst leadership decisions of our time, he writes, can be traced to escalation of commitment. And that just doesn't make sense. And then he makes the point, frankly, this happens in business, right? Blockbuster went bust because instead of buying Netflix, they escalated their commitment to renting physical videos. Kodak made the same mistake by doubling down on selling film rather than pivoting to digital cameras. And listen, there's another term for what this is, and we've talked about this a lot on Morning Newsbeat over the years. It's called epistemic closure. It's wanting to deal with the world the way we want the world to be, as opposed to dealing with the world the way it is. And that is an enormous mistake. Well, I don't care if it's in politics or in business, or frankly, even our personal lives. We have to deal with the world the way it is. We can't just deal with the world the way we'd like it to be. Because in the latter case, you're just going to run headlong into a brick wall, and that doesn't do anybody any good. So that's what I think. That's a really good summation of the political moment. But I think it's also a great summation of what a lot of business leaders do. And I think we all have to think about that in our businesses, whatever we happen to be doing. Are we doubling down on mistakes because we'd rather be seen as a fighter than a quitter? Sometimes that doesn't make any sense at all. Quitting, backing off, finding a new direction, finding a new strategy, finding a new tactic, often that is the better course of action. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.